as chair of the Concord, New Hampshire Planning Board due to the Corona-19 virus, and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board has been authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video and other electronic means. We're utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through clicking on the following website link, https://zoom.us/j/754076629, or by dialing the following phone number, 929-208-6099, and entering the password 754076629. For those calling and want to provide public testimony, please dial 9 to alert the host that you'd like to speak. The host will unmute you during the public hearing portion of our meeting. B, provide public notice of this meeting information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public on how to access the meeting using the Zoom platform, and instructions are provided on the City of Concord's website at www.concordnh.gov/273/planning board. C, provide a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem accessing this meeting, please call 603-568-8515 or send an email to planning@concordnh.gov. And D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. Excuse me. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. When each member states their presence, also please state whether you are alone in the room during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. With that, let's start the meeting and take a roll call. If we could, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Apologize,
Hello?
I was muted. Chairman Woodfin?
Here, and I am alone in the room.
Member Hicks?
I am here and alone in the room.
Councilor Champlin?
I am here alone in the room, although Susan Champlin and Madeline Champlin are elsewhere in the house.
Member Fox? You're on mute, Dave.
Push the space bar. Push and hold it. Push and hold it. There you go. Speak. Oh. We missed you. Push and hold the space bar and then talk. He's here. Are you alone in the room, Dave?
Here, hold on. Let me,
Can we unmute David?
yeah, I might be able to.
He's under Lisa.
It says, it's telling me to ask him to unmute. On your lower left corner of your screen, do you have, if you move your mouse over it, do you see mute and unmute? Or in the upper corner?
There you go. There you go.
There
Yeah,
you go.
You're unmuted. So you're here, and are you here, David?
And alone in the room, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Member Smithmeyer?
I am here and alone in the room.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The meeting has been called to order, so let's roll through approval of the minutes from the September 16th meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes as submitted, or do you have any changes you'd like to submit?
Motion to approve.
Okay, that motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Matt seconded that. All those in favor by roll call? Heather?
Chairman
Hello?
Woodfin?
Yes, aye.
Member Fox?
Aye.
Councilor Champlin?
I abstain since I wasn't present.
Oh, good point. Member Hicks?
Aye.
And Member Smithmeyer?
I was not there.
Okay, so we're good with that? Without that, yep. So we will recognize Council Champlin, who will be sitting in tonight for Council Pierce, who is away. So Council Champlin, welcome back to the table. I hate to say the table, but welcome back to the table.
Virtual table, Mr. Chairman.
The virtual table, very well, thank you. So we've got some overview agenda items for those of you out in the audience that are here to talk about any of these items. They have been pulled off the agenda for tonight, won't be heard. So items 7D and 7E have requested a continuation to the November 18th meeting for a public hearing. Today, 7B, John Roque on behalf of Whitmore Holdings for a minor subdivision has also requested that his item be pulled off from tonight's agenda and set for the November 18th meeting. Item F has requested a continuation to the December 16th meeting. And we need a motion to continue and recognize that all those items will be pulled off of the agenda. If someone would like to make that motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded by David. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Counselor Champlin,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Member Smithmeyer.
Aye.
Okay, so I do want to introduce a new member of our little party here. Gary LeMay is joining us tonight. Gary is the new Assistant City Engineer. Welcome to the table, Gary. We will put you through the ringer. So we've allocated 30 minutes for you to go through and tell us about your history. And welcome to the table. And you'll be our new planning board person, so we can start beating you up on a monthly basis, right? Get David off the hook.
Looking forward to it. I'm glad to be here, and yeah, a lot of fun projects going on. So bear with me as I get up to speed. Dave's done a great job getting me running so far, and looking forward to.
I think Gary, you need to pull your microphone down.
Yeah, we can't hear you. We hear
Oh,
you, but barely.
geez. Yeah,
What a bad first impression.
I know, right? Yeah, I've got my my telemarketer headphone on here, so you can hear me better, and
We could hear you.
I missed it. Oh, good, great.
We could hear you.
Well, yeah,
welcome aboard, and you got a great group here. So hopefully we can keep you busy over the coming months.
Gary, I can tell you, since I'm only here briefly, but I was on this board for 4 years, this is a tough crowd, so watch yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be careful. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Welcome again. Okay, so let's move on in our agenda items here tonight. We've got ADR by consent. So on our agenda for consent, we have design review applications by consent items 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, 5E, and 5F. Would anybody in the audience like to speak in opposition of any of those items on the agenda tonight? If you would, please make yourself known to the clerk, and we will pull you out of the group and let you speak. If not, would any member of the board like to pull any of those items out of the consent agenda item for tonight? I don't see any hands, so we will assume that the board is good. Heather, anybody requesting a consent agenda to be pulled out?
Nope.
No? Okay, so on consent agenda, that means that we will recognize that these approvals were made with ADR recommendations. So all of the ADR recommendations are in place for those items that I just listed, A, B, 5A through 5F. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those items on consent with ADR recommendations?
Second.
Motion's been made by Council Champlin, seconded by Matt Hicks. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Counselor Champlin,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Member Smithmeyer.
Aye.
Okay, so those pass, and all of those will be are good to go. So we'll move on, moving right along to item 7 in our agenda tonight: site plans, subdivisions, and conditional use permit applications. Item 7A. If we could read that into the record, Madam Clerk.
No, we're on item 6, which is design review, public hearings.
I'm sorry.
design
Design
review
review application. I'm sorry. 6A.
That's
So
okay,
could
6A.
we read application 6A into the record?
Yes, we can. Richard and Jacqueline Day request ADR approval for the construction of a 4,300 square foot private storage building at 108 Old Loudon Road in the Gateway Performance District. And I'm going to ask Sam to do a little staff summary of that. And I do see Jackie Day listed here, and I'm going to allow her speak, and why don't you go ahead, Sam?
Sure. Miss Day came to the ADR meeting earlier this month. Her and her husband are proposing a storage, a large barn to store classic cars in. And when they came before ADR, ADR had some concerns over the lack of information provided in the application. Miss Day had supplied a revised application, which I believe you have in your packets, that does provide a bit more information relative to where this barn will be located, some of the siding details, window treatments, and so on and so forth. So they have responded to ADR's concerns and provided more information.
Okay. And is this on Old Loudon Road or Loudon Road? I thought it
Old
said
Loudon Road.
Old Loudon Road, okay. And that is still in the Gateway Performance District, Old Loudon Road?
That's correct.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Would they like to speak?
Yes, we are here.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're just looking forward to having all of our classic cars here on the property with us. We have a personal collection of them, and it's my husband's passion, so we'd like to have a nice building here.
Absolutely. Okay. Any concerns, Sam, as far as variances or anything on this that we should be knowing about? I'm just seeing, all I see is the application. I don't see any staff summary or report. And I know you don't.
Correct. No variances. This is for private use, so it does not trigger site plan.
Okay. And then private use, so they're responsible for stormwater and any runoff or anything like that. It's no concern. It's a large building.
Because it's for a residential use and not a commercial, it doesn't trigger site plan.
Okay.
So,
all right. Is there any? Do we have anybody in the audience, Heather, that would like to speak regarding this application? If anybody in the audience would like to speak, please make yourself be known to the clerk so we can recognize you. Any member of the board have any questions regarding this application? Questions, concerns, comments? It seems pretty straightforward. Council Champlin? You're on mute.
No, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have every once in a while I get a pop-up on my laptop, and if I push down the space bar, it negates it. So anyway, I had a question for Ms. Day. I was wondering, this is quite a large building. I wondered if you had any feedback from your neighbors about your plans?
We've talked with all of them. The neighbor across the street, Mark Bogues, wrote a letter for us that we did submit to the variance committee when we were looking for that. Everybody's in approval. We try to keep our property neat and clean, and I think I don't think anybody has a problem. Everybody seems very happy.
Are there anybody
Super.
in the audience?
Super. Thank you for answering that, and thank you for going taking the time and trouble to touch base with your neighbors. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, they're a good group. It's a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, I know Mark, and you're right. He's a good guy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Byron, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I forgot you asked the question. Any member of the audience, Heather, have any questions? No? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this as submitted with ADR recommendations? Again, ADR was concerned looking at the shingles, I believe, and the siding options, which seem to be in order here. I don't think anybody has any questions on it. So if we've got a motion on the table, I'll take that motion.
I move approval.
Move approval as
Second.
submitted. Okay, a motion's been made by Suzanne and seconded by David. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Counselor Champlin,
Aye.
Member Smithmeyer.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. So you guys are all set. When's the public viewing so everybody can come by and see all those beautiful vehicles? Let us know.
We'll let you know. We'll have a
Okay.
barbecue.
Okay, thank you very
There
much.
we go.
Have a great
There we
evening.
go. Like that idea.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's move on to item 6B on our agenda. If we could read that into the record, Madam Clerk.
Purely CBD requests ADR approval for the installation of a new internally illuminated wall sign and the replacement of an internally illuminated freestanding sign at 7577 Fort Eddy Road in the Gateway Performance District. I believe this was, would you like me to do 6C as well? It looks like they're the same applicant. And they
Yes,
were both,
yeah.
yeah. So 6C is sports clips for the replacement, also for the replacement of an internally illuminated wall sign at 7577 Fort Eddy Road. And I do believe we have the sign representative here. And I'll just ask Sam to give a summary for why they were pulled from consent.
Sure. So I'm sure some of you may know this location. This is the Panera and Verizon Plaza. And these two storefronts, they're right next to each other. And they occupy a relatively smaller space than the other tenants in this plaza. So the Architecture Design Review Committee had some concerns about how the signs kind of play off of each other. So the CBD sign is more stacked vertically, whereas the Sports Clips sign is a horizontal line. And they thought that they were a little too close together, and the fact that they were the layout was different was not complementary. So Mr. Tejada requested that they pull this from consent so that he can represent the opinions of his clients and explain the purpose for this alignment and design.
Okay. Well, we'll unmute him and welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
Hi, sorry about that. Max Tejada. I'm in my basement alone and I'm representing the sign gallery. We are manufacturing and installing these signs for each of these customers.
Okay. So you had requested to pull them out of consent agenda because of the ADR recommendations. Can you tell us, do you want to change them at all, or do you want to leave them the way they were submitted and tell us why we should?
Yeah, we'd like to leave them the way they are. ADR, when I presented this to them earlier this month, their recommendation was to take the Sport Clip sign and make it 3 lines like purely CBD is. So you would have sport on one line, clips on the second, and haircuts as the third to kind of make the signs look similar, I guess. A couple of things come to mind with that. Sport Clip sign is existing right now. All we're doing with that is reducing it in size to get them into compliance. That's the existing sign right now. So, you know, they're asking us to redo the sign that's already there and in turn rename the business. I mean, the business name is Sport Clips, not, you know, they don't separate sport and clips as 2 words basically. And you know, as far as the other signage that's there, I mean, you know, you have other signs that are 2 lines versus 1 and they're right next to each other. So I just feel like what they're asking for is, I don't know, with Sport Clips, they're asking them to basically rebrand their whole business, you know.
So
and
Sport Clips is
Sport
Clips is a fairly large company as well, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah. Okay.
And all we're trying to do with both of these customers is get them as much exposure as possible. You know, Panera Bread and Verizon Wireless, they have a whole lot more linear footage for their storefront. So I understand why they have bigger signs, but we don't want our customer signs to look like a postage stamp on the building in comparison to the rest of the signage on the building.
Okay. And the purely CBD as a new one, is that an existing sign or is that a brand new business?
That's a brand new sign.
Okay.
Yeah, that purely CBD took over that unit for a different CBD company. I don't know whether that company ever had signage up on the wall or not. But of course, purely CBD would like it, you know, to, of course, so people can find them.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Heather, any Oh, you got a question or you got an audience?
I do have a question, just because I was not at that meeting. Did Craig Walker during the meeting, or has at any point anyone talked about the window signage? Because I know the window signage also
Yes,
counts. So
Yes.
is that going to be removed?
it was asked at the meeting, and Craig did mention something about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember what he stated, but he did say that that does factor and that would need to be addressed.
Yeah, I think window signage counts towards your square footage.
Okay.
And I don't think you don't have approval for any of that. So likely all that signage would need to be removed.
Which I don't think the customer has a problem with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
As
think
long
they're
as they
going to
have the sign
remove the
above it,
handwritten sign in the window anyway, because that's not.
Right. Yeah, you're looking at a picture from, there's no signage at all. So all they were trying to do was just,
Right.
here we are,
Right.
Yep.
Oh, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Heather, how did you raise your hand?
Physically.
I just went like this.
Like that.
I'm visible, and I just literally.
I thought I
raised
saw
my hand.
like a little icon hand. I used to be able to do that in another.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should
you
be
can.
able to.
You can.
No,
You
that's
can.
okay. I'll just raise my voice. Can I just say something
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
about the
I mean-
sign?
Yeah,
Is that
go
okay?
ahead. Yep.
Okay, thanks. I guess I agree with Max. I don't see your last name, but I remember your name is Max.
Yes.
I think they did a nice job making Purely be in the same line as Sport Clips. And I don't have a problem with it not being perfectly the same, quite honestly. I think their logo at the top is fine, and the arc of the building gets bigger there. I don't have a problem with that. I agree with Heather about all the extra signage on the building, like the arrows. I think that's more distracting than anything. And it's hard to know what's going to happen to the other building. And I don't know if there was a sign package that was submitted when this building was first approved. But I certainly don't have a problem with their signs as presented.
Thank you.
Matt.
Yeah, I think my
Sure.
comment echoes Suzanne's, is that I just find this to be annoying, honestly, from ADR, because this is part of a company's brand house. So Sport Clip to change the sign and to recommend that, unless the city of Concord, unless we determine that we want all signs to look the same on buildings. This is all throughout Concord, that different companies have different brands and different lettering, different font, different colors. So I don't know. I think this is a waste of the applicant's time, quite frankly.
Okay. Byron, did I see your hand go?
Yeah, I'm going to stop using the tiny hand that we do in city council because only Suzanne noticed it. But thank you, Suzanne, for noticing it. I'm fine with this layout. This is just kind of a expression of my puzzlement. I'm surprised that ADR didn't look at, or that the store owner didn't consider using the horizontal version of their logo for Purely CBD, which is what they're using on the stand-up sign. And that actually, I mean, aesthetically, I think is a much more interesting logo. But, and I'm surprised that ADR wanted Sports Clip to change their logo rather than, I'm assuming that they looked at the stand-up sign as well. And there's a horizontal treatment of the Purely CBD logo there.
Yeah, I think it's just size-wise too. You'll get a bigger bang for your buck going with the 3 lines instead of 2. But okay, any other comments, questions, concerns? If not, we'll take a motion if someone would like to make it to approve these as we see them here. Yeah, let's close the public hearing. No more comments from the public hearing from the audience, right, Heather? No.
No.
Okay, so we'll close.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
The Purely CB up on the next to Sport Clips, you did touch on the signage that's in the windows. I didn't really is that coming out, or because you did say it's part of the configuration, not the configuration, when the assessment of how much square footage there is.
Right. So they'll have to get rid of that. I think the point was it was put up just because they don't have anything up there currently. So until they're going about it the right way. They didn't just put a sign up on the wall. They're doing it the right way. But in order to open the business, they had to put something up in the window so people could see them. I'm pretty sure this was just a single storefront before. So it would have been one storefront instead of two. Now they've split it up and made it two.
So the window signage goes away, and the one up on the wall.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. Yep.
I'm clear.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve these as submitted, not with ADR recommendations, but just approve as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Suzanne, seconded by David. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Councilor Champlin,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Member Smith-Meyer.
Aye.
Okay, so we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which actually that was 6B and 6C. So we will move on to our site plans, public hearing section. Sorry, let me skip past that. 7A, right?
Yep. 7A is J. Matthew and Jamie G. Beers requesting minor subdivision approval for a 2-lot subdivision at 5 Ormond Street in the high-density residential district. Staff recommends that this application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and for you to open the public hearing.
Okay, so,
we do have, I believe we do have some, them in the audience as well, so I will.
Okay, you find them and we'll go through the motion to accept this application as complete. So we've got a determination of completeness component and this is not a development or regional impact. Would someone like to make a motion to find that this is a determination of completeness has been done and it's not a development of regional impact and open the public hearing? Sorry.
So moved.
Motion's been, I'll take Suzanne on the motion and Byron on the second. Is that okay? So motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Councilor Champlin,
Aye.
Member Smith-Meyer.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing and we'll welcome to the table. Who do we have?
I have Mark Sargent, who I've allowed to speak. I don't know if maybe he can let me know if there's anyone else on the line to authorize.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep. Do you want to do you want to use your video, Mark, or do you want to stay
If you want to put me on video, you can take a look at my dining room. So.
We haven't seen you for a long time, Mark. Welcome back to the table. Oops, you're muted now.
How's that?
There you go. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
But,
okay, well, we won't fuss around with the video. Let's just move on if we can. Why don't you tell us about this project?
Sure. This project, or the site, is located at 5 Ormond Street. It's at the southeast corner of Ormond and Prescott Streets. The property has a total area of 0.53 acres with 78.9 feet of frontage on Ormond Street and 230.23 feet of frontage on Prescott Street. And the property also has a 2-unit residential building on it and a couple of outbuildings. The proposal before the board this evening is to create one new lot, which will be fronting on Prescott Street. It would be a single-family residential parcel with an area of 0.23 acres, 110.72 feet of frontage on Prescott Street. That leaves the remaining lot at the corner of Prescott and Ormond with 0.03 acres, 119.51 feet of frontage on Prescott, and the 78.95 feet of frontage on Ormond Street. We did request one waiver, that's to section 19.05 parentheses 4, pertaining to the usable lot area rectangle. And the usable area on the proposed lot is 4,769 square feet, where 6,000 is required. The lot as proposed will be serviced by municipal utilities and has ample room to support a home, driveway, and accessory building, and meets all the other criteria. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, so the only waiver is due to the rectangle size of the lot, right?
That's correct. The required usable area exceeds the required buildable area, which usually is the other way around.
Right. Okay, any member of the board have any questions regarding this application? Any member of the audience, Heather, have any questions or concerns or comments? No raised hands?
No, I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, so we will close the public hearing, look to the recommendations here in our packet. Staff recommends that we, doesn't have a problem with the waiver, so staff supports the waiver in a unique situation that the lot meets the minimum lot size and the buildable area requirements and can support the new single family home. So we've got the waiver. I'm going to take them both in the same recommendation and the same vote if we can. So we'll do the we'll look to do the granting of the waiver under 4.1 in your packet for 1905 parentheses 4. And then 4.2 is to grant minor subdivision approval for the 2-lot subdivision at 5 Ormond Street, subject to the following conditions to be fulfilled within 1 year. That is conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Would someone like to make a motion to grant the waiver and to grant the minor subdivision approval as outlined?
So moved.
I got Suzanne on the motion, Matt on the second. All those in favor by roll call?
Chairman Woodfin,
Aye.
Member Hicks,
Aye.
Member Smithmeyer,
Aye.
Member Fox,
Aye.
Counselor Champlin.
Aye.
Okay, you're all set, Mark. Thank you very
Great.
much. We'll see you again.
Yeah, thank you very much, and stay safe and happy Halloween.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night. Okay, and again, 7B has been pulled from the agenda. If we got anybody late coming in, we've got one more item on our agenda, which is 7C, Abbott Farms LLC, and none of the other items will be heard tonight. They've all been pulled from the agenda. So let's read 7C into the agenda if we can.
7C is Abbott Farm LLC requesting approval of previous planning board conditions to release building permits and certificates of occupancy within the Abbott Village development at Callaway Drive and Cleveland Avenue in Neighborhood Residential District. And I will hand it over to Beth to give a quick summary of where we're at. And we do have Liz Nolan and Jason Garland representing the application, and then I will allow them to speak.
Okay, Beth, you're on.
Hi, I'm on. So last we heard from them, this was back in April, to address conditions that were placed last September on this project pending what was happening with the Abbott House, which was a condition of the original site plan approval. The last September, the board placed conditions. All of them were met except for coming up with a plan, not a physical plan, but what was going to happen with the future development of the Abbott House. So back in April, the board released 12 building permits, saying with approving that their proposal to move forward with doing a subdivision, so to subdivide the Abbott House from the condominium development, and putting some sort of deed restrictions or something in the deed to make sure that the Abbott House would be historically either restored or maintained to maintain the historic character of the house. So they have submitted the subdivision application and a site plan amendment to have that 80th unit be a new unit instead of the Abbott House, which was originally the 80th unit, so they don't have to change their condominium documents. And then upon reviewing the subdivision, it was discovered by Craig Walker that we missed that there's a perimeter buffer that's required around multi-family housing. And by subdividing the Abbott House, we were creating a non-conformity with the proposed 6 Cleveland Ave and 2 Cleveland Ave. So that is going for a variance in early November. However, they have those building permits that were issued earlier this summer. They have units, I believe, already under purchase and sales agreements. So the applicants are seeking to release the COs for those 12 units so they can have those people move in, and then they'll be coming forward to you for subdivision approval pending the variance application in November.
Okay, so I just want to be clear on what we're looking at tonight. So we're looking at not doing anything with the Abbott House, not looking at any plans, driveway cuts, anything at all. All we're talking about is releasing COs, and are we issuing or giving them additional building permits as well? Do you remember that?
That was, the staff recommendation is that pending the variance.
Pending the variance.
So put a condition that the variance be granted to release any additional building permits. But
Okay.
We're recommending issuance of the COs that they have met the condition that they have put forth a proposal for future development of the Abbott House.
So we're essentially making the recommendation that they be released from having to come back to the planning board. If they get their variance, they would not need to come back to the planning board for any building permits or COs to be released. They would, once they get their variance, automatically be able to get the rest of their building permits and COs, but they still will have to come back for approval of the subdivision. And so last time they were here, members of the board said that they didn't feel comfortable taking that step because they didn't know what the plan was. And so they have submitted the plan, and we're assuming that that's the plan that's going to go forward. We've looked, and there's really no way to subdivide without them getting this variance. So they need to get the variance, or there's no other options really.
Okay, so we've talked a lot on this about leverage and about not giving up our ability to hold the developer accountable for what we want done and what we thought should have been done right from the get-go back 10, 12 years ago. So what's left for us as far as this project with regards to additional building permits and, again, being able to say, look, we want this particular project done as far as the Abbott House goes. I don't know, Beth or Heather, are you following what I'm asking here?
Well, they've already done all of the sort of buttoning, almost mothballing the building. So they've repaired the roof, they repaired windows, they painted the outside of the house.
Yeah.
So they've sort of prepared it so that it would not further decline.
They've met the requirements that we set up as part of that.
Yeah. So the only thing,
next step is going to be the subdivision.
right? If it's not subdivided, then it remains part of the condominium, and that was something that I know there's members of the board, of the condominium board tonight that I know will speak tonight, but what we originally heard from them last year was that they don't want the house as part of their condominium development.
Right.
So the subdivision allows them to sell it off and it not be part of the condominium development anymore. So it won't be part of the condo association. It'll be a separate entity.
Okay.
At the last meeting, the board had everyone had come to the consensus that subdivision was the answer, but they were uncomfortable with full release of everything without seeing a plan. And so they have submitted a plan. So you can see, where the driveway is proposed, where the lot lines are proposed.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the last piece.
Okay. And that just kind of gets us back to starting over again with that particular building, which is where we want it to be in the long run. So let's unmute the applicants and welcome them to the table. And if you could state your name for the record.
I would just want to ask Liz or Jason, do you want to be made panelists so you can use your video?
I don't need video.
No, I don't need video either. Thank you, Heather.
Sure.
Okay, welcome. If you guys could just state your names for the record, please, and give us a little overview of what you're looking for tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening. My name is attorney Liz Nolan with Nolan Law, based out of Nottingham, New Hampshire. I am representing Abbott Farm in this matter, and also on the phone this evening is Jason Garland. So tonight we are really looking for the release of COs based on past meetings that we've had. So within the past few weeks, we have submitted several applications to different boards, which of course the staff has already spoken to. And we have met, in our opinion, all of the requests that this board has made in order to release our requested COs this evening. We understand that we will, of course, come back for all of our other applications at the appropriate public meetings. So tonight we are simply trying to narrow the focus of this meeting for the issuance of the COs.
All right, Heather, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application?
Yes, I have, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, Lorinda Gilbert?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, if you could state your name, please, for the record.
My name is Lorinda Gilbert, and I'm the president of the Abbott Village Homeowners Association Board of Directors.
Okay, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Thank you. We wanted to be able to participate tonight. We did send a letter in, which you have as part of your package. We have been living here in this community for a number of years, some of us, and we want to make it a community where it is thriving. It is a wonderful neighborhood that we're all proud to live in. And I know Jason wants to build a neighborhood that he's proud to say, I built that. Unfortunately, communication between the board and Jason has broken down since last spring. And we just wanted to make sure that we had a voice, that as this project goes forward, these new 12 units coming on, that things done on buildings previous that haven't been finished are going to get done. And that really is our focus. We've got building 35 that was finished 2 years ago, has no trees. The trees are completely missing in the back. Building 34 finished a year and a half ago, has huge issue with the lawn, including a resident who stepped on a very large piece of metal coming up through the horrific soil that was used. So things like that. And we're concerned that as Jason keeps going, he's not coming back to finish everything. So that's why we started trying to have meetings with him and they fell apart. We sent a letter and Jason did graciously respond to our first letter and we got quite a bit of work done. But our second letter in August has fallen on deaf ears and we've not received a response to it. And things are moving forward so fast that we're concerned about, for instance, design issues. The new buildings don't match the other buildings. They don't have the rock perimeter and there's no communication between Jason and the board to say, even though Jason might not be held responsible to do it, the board might have wanted to come in and we wanted to do it. But there's just not working together. So we're concerned that with this subdivision, we very much are in favor of getting rid of the Abbott house out of this community. We don't want it. We're very happy, and we've been telling them since last spring, we'd love to see that subdivided. Our major concern as a board is that we do not want the easements for the people traveling through our streets. And we're also very concerned that the access goes through what's supposed to be our visitor parking. We are certainly in favor of a curb cut off North State Street, and we'll be very involved in the hearings coming up on that. But our concern tonight is just making sure that as the new buildings get their COs, work is completed on the prior buildings. We get complaints daily from residents that things aren't done. So we just wanted to have a voice and to be able to hopefully come together with Jason and Liz and work together as we go forward. We're in favor of the first 5 units getting their COs so people could move in November. We were against the second building because they're not supposed to move in until January. And that would be after the zoning and planning board hearings on the subdivision, which if that fails, we wanted to make sure that we could then look at the COs for those other buildings. So we just wanted to have a voice and we want to work together. And I really thank Beth for all her help recently in speaking with us. And we thank you that we could submit our letter, just voicing our opinion.
Thank you very much for submitting it. Anybody else, Heather, that you have that would like to speak?
Yes, we also have Alan Hirschlag, who with his hands raised, so I will allow him to speak.
Hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Hirschlag. Welcome back to the table. If you could just state your name for the record.
Sure, I'm Alan Hirschlag. I want to thank the board and city staff for allowing me to express some of my concerns this evening. So it's my understanding that in order for Abbott Farms to move forward, it's necessary for them to provide you with deed restrictions or a covenant for the Abbott house. So when Mr. Garland purchased Abbott Village, many of us thought his obligations to renovate and incorporate the Abbott House into the project were pretty clear. Yet there seemed to be question after question as to what extent Mr. Garland was responsible for renovating the building, claiming too many assumptions and not enough clarity in the planning documents. The good news is the document before you tonight couldn't be more clear. The first sentence starts with, "This document is subject to change," and it continues, "The language is sample language." It couldn't be more clear if it was written in invisible or vanishing ink. Exhibit C makes clear that everything and anything in the document is subject to change. Let me be more specific about some of the items that he's using as examples. It talks about in section 2, exterior restrictions, unless such work is necessary. But who determines that? Does the city wash over the hands of a building that we've been concerned about for years as to preserving, to some extent, its historical character? So do we wash our hands of that and just leave that up to whoever the occupant happens to be at the time? 3G, I think is inconsistent with the agreement. There is no agreement here. It's just a bunch of words that mean nothing and can be altered at any time. 3H, where it talks about maintenance, talks about competence at all time to maintain the Abbott House. Again, these are just words that can be changed at any time between now and when the building is subdivided and sold. 3IA talks about insurance, and it states very clearly that it shall carry full replacement costs for the Abbott House, the L, and the barn. But section J, I can't read my writing, I think it's I, contradicts that, stating to the extent that there are sufficient insurance proceeds, but doesn't the preceding clause state that insurance shall cover the full costs? And then section JB is another get out of jail free card, contradicting 3IA. The owner may elect not to restore the Abbott House, an L, or barn, should substantial casualty be defined as 75, being defined as more than 75% or more of the structure. But again, hasn't the document that they wrote and submitted to you tonight stated that property damage on the Abbott House, L, and barn shall have the full replacement costs of it through their insurance? This board has on numerous occasions called Mr. Garland to task for what the board understood were responsibilities of Mr. Garland that were not completed. There was a letter in your packet from the homeowners, and I think they detailed their concerns very clearly, so I don't need to go over those again. And their big concern, and I think it's been a concern of the board, is that Mr. Garland has not followed through on what folks from the homeowners association and in the case of the board have understood were obligations that were agreed to. So understanding the history of this project, are you willing tonight to accept this document as a fulfillment? That's easy for you to say. Are you willing to accept this document as a fulfillment of their conditions to allow this project to move forward? Thank you for having this opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hirschlag from the board? No? Heather, anybody else that you've got lined up would wish to speak about this?
No.
Okay, let's recognize back again to the table the applicant and the attorney, if you could unmute them, or if you can unmute.
I think they can unmute themselves.
If you'd like to respond to those points that were brought up, we'll give you a chance.
Yes, again, this is Liz Nolan with Nolan Law. So the first concern that I briefly wanted to address, and I will reach directly out to the association as well, we have attempted on several occasions to actually contact them. We did back in early September send over drafts of our documents that were to a representative of the association, which may not have gotten in their hands. I did get confirmation from a representative that not everything had been forwarded over, and I was not made aware of that until, let me see. It was about last week, late last week, that I found out about it. I did not have a contact to the association members themselves. And so our understanding was that any application, any discussions, amendments, things like that would go through agents so that we could always be in constant communication. So just to briefly touch on that, we have been reaching out consistently with our plans, with our site plan amendments, with responding to different bylaws and different just drafting documents that they have asked for our input on. So from our point of view, the communication has been prompt, the responses on our end. So I'm hoping that we can develop a more direct relationship where there is less of a chain of getting that information over so that the association feels more confident with what is going on, and that we are all on the same page. We, of course, think it's very preferable that we would get the Abbott House subdivided off of the association. So I just wanted to briefly mention that matter. Jason, do you have anything to contribute?
I'm hearing somebody's, I'm not sure what I'm hearing.
An AutoCAD drawing open in the background, so I don't know who's got another.
I don't know. Liz, is that yours? Because there's not anybody else really that's not on mute. Are you having some background noise there?
No, I am sitting in a room by myself.
Okay. I don't know where that noise is coming from. Jason, I don't know if you're trying to talk, Jason, but you're muted if you are. You want to unmute yourself if you want to speak. Or confirm that you don't want to speak. We're not getting anything from Jason. Maybe he's the one. His hand is raised. I can't unmute you, Jason. It's telling me that I can only ask you to unmute yourself. I can.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Whoops, what happened? He's gone again.
I promoted him to panelist because I thought it would help with the audio.
Can you hear me, Heather?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know what just happened. The whole meeting cut out on me.
Oh.
I don't have anything further to state at this moment.
Okay. I do have, again, Lorinda Gilbert with her hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Gilbert.
Lorinda, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, there you go.
I just did. Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Liz to let her know that, yes, we, as the board, just learned about the communication she did have with our attorney, who did not forward any of the information over to us. But the comment about not having a direct line with the association, the developer's realtor is the same person that operates our management company. So the communication would be very easy to get to us through our management company, through his realtor. They know the board members that we all live right here. So we definitely all want to work together as well. And I think the communication that broke down can be repaired with some cooperation. And we just want to make sure that we knew that. But we did find out that Liz did send the documents to our attorney the beginning of September. Unfortunately, Liz didn't know he didn't forward them. And I don't think she followed up to say, hey, I haven't heard anything. So she had a deadline to get things filed. we filed our letter not knowing the communication. So I think now it's a time for us all to come together, look back at what from building 35 to the present, what's been done, what needs to be done. And we would certainly be willing to sit down with the developer and with Liz, with the city, if need be. We'd love to have a meeting and work through some of these things. But our concern is really, the easements and access into that Abbott house if it goes forward.
And again, we'll hear that in the next at the next meeting when and if it gets past the zoning piece. And I'm sensitive to the association's points here on your letter. Certainly regarding the trees, regarding the curb, the curbing, and the things that need to be part of the plan. We can't help really with the trim not being painted and topsoil quality and things like that, just because it's out of our purview. But certainly, if there's supposed to be trees there and they were part of that plan, and there's supposed to be curbs and they're part of the plan, then there needs to be some follow up from the city's side. Beth.
Yep. So I've been speaking with Mark White, who's the on-site person for north-south construction, about getting those trees in. So they're aware that those need to get in. Those were during the transition of our former city planner. So I think they got missed during that CO process. But that is something that we're working on getting. The missing curbing, when I was out there with Dan McCoy from engineering, and that was also many years ago before us. And he assumed that it was because that's where their snow storage is. So in order to get the plow to move the snow in that area, they didn't keep the curbing in that area. It's at the end of the that sort of drive. So it's assumed that it was an administrative approval by engineering at that time, but I haven't had a chance to follow up to see their notes from back then to see if that was a decision that staff made about that curbing. It may cause more damage to cut the pavement now and put that curbing in. So I think that's a discussion that we need to continue to have. And then just to address the stone perimeter around the new units. So those buildings were approved 2 years ago. There was an amendment. They made them 2-story buildings instead of 3-story buildings. And now they have gutters in all the buildings. The previous design did not have gutters. So the stone perimeter is for drainage when you don't have gutters. Now that they have gutters, they didn't need to put that stone strip in for drainage. So that's why that drip edge is not there. So those were things that I followed up with.
What about the inconsistencies between the design? Again, if it was approved and it was put through, then that's water under the bridge. But are there inconsistencies from building to building?
Nope. The new buildings are all the same. It's the inconsistency is the drip edge from the original design. That there's that stone perimeter around the ground. Okay. But the new 2-story design does not require it because of the gutters.
Okay, and what about Mr. Hirschlag's comments regarding the plan that's before us? And again, we're not looking at the plan yet, right? I mean, I'm a little, betwixt and between here as far as we don't really have a plan to look at. We've got just like he said, a bunch of words and a bunch of it might change here, it might change there. But we're not really looking at that tonight, right? That's really not before us. Is that document's there and the supplemental information's there, but we're really not looking at that.
Right, and that's right? We submitted those documents to the city solicitor's office. They had not reviewed them just because they didn't anticipate covering that until next month. So I don't have a response, but okay. I mean that is something that we can get comments on sooner rather than later from the solicitor's office. I know Jim Kennedy will want to firm up that language. I don't think it'll be left as loose as it is right now. So it's in the city's best interest to protect that building and the decisions that the planning board made in the past. So we'll work through with the city solicitor's office about that language before it comes to you in November.
Okay. And anything that we're talking about tonight isn't contingent on that language at all, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think Alan's making a good point that there most likely will need to be revisions and amendments to those documents. We're not approving those documents tonight. We're approving what the board would be is approving the concept of the subdivision and having a general idea what that means by having the plan before you in your packet so you can see what is proposed. And the that we want to meet the intent of those conditions in those documents when we do approve that subdivision. We'll make sure that it's all, that it meets the intent of the conditions that it was intended to.
And then my only other point, I got you, Byron, I'll catch you in a sec, but my only other point is the curb cut versus the access through the existing, and that's going to be a contentious issue. So, you know, I know the desire is to keep the curb cuts down, especially in that area. And I can understand from the homeowner's perspective, the homeowners association's perspective, they don't want the access to that property going through that end. And I see both sides of that. So there's going to need to be the woman from the Mrs. Gilbert from the homeowners association mentioned communications. I got to tell you, communications are going to be very important with the developer on this, because we're going to want, you know, we're not going to want to settle the argument here in this forum. We want you guys to talk about it on the backside before you come to us.
I would kind of disagree, because the developer and the homeowners association may both want the curb cut, but the staff does not support it. City staff, it was part of the original condition of the development that they remove the curb cut.
Yeah.
That was part of the original plan approval. Neither planning nor engineering supports any curb cuts. Perfect. Additional curb cuts.
Okay.
We are squarely in favor, in support of maintaining the easement through the existing curb cut. Okay. The traffic just and the safety just does not support. I mean, we do joint driveways all the time. Yeah. So we're okay. So even if the developer and the homeowner all want the curb cut, staff is not in support of that.
Okay. Byron, I'll take your question. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You asked a lot of what I was going to ask. However, I wondered, I kept my hand up because I wondered if it would be possible to run that narrative document with the covenant language not only by the city solicitor, but the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, which has a lot of expertise in covenants on historic structures, to see. The solicitor's office can look at the legal language and everything, but the Preservation Alliance has expertise in covenants and what kind of covenant documents actually are effective.
I see Beth writing that down as we speak, and I'm gonna guess, and she's gonna be making that recommendation and putting it out, right, Beth?
Yep. So Jennifer Goodwin, we've been in conversation about this for the past year, so I will follow up with her.
Perfect.
We should have known you'd be on top of it, Beth. Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us in check.
Thanks for keeping us in check. Okay, so let's take a step back. We have any other questions, comments, concerns from the audience, Heather? Anybody else with their hand raised? I don't see anybody. No. Any other comments, questions, concerns from the board? You guys have been wildly quiet. So who's got a point or comment? Anybody else? No? Okay, so let's take a look in your packet here, if we can, on the background. Again, this is more of a project background and a narrative, and then the recommendations on the project. So again, as of the March 25th, 2019 meeting, the board conditionally approved the issuance of building permits in Phase 5, subject to the additional analysis of the structure of the Abbott House. At the September 18th, 2019 meeting, the board conditionally approved the issuance of 8 COs in Phase 5, subject to 4 conditions addressing the future development of the Abbott House. At the March 30th meeting, the board voted to authorize the issuance of the 8 COs, subject to the condition that no additional building permits or COs be issued until the remaining condition number 4, as of the September 18th, 2019 board decision was addressed. Condition 4 stated that no additional COs or building permits shall be issued in the development until the applicant submits a plan agreeable to the planning board for the future development of the Abbott House. At the April 15th, 2020 meeting, the board reviewed the applicant's proposed concept to subdivide the Abbott House. The board agreed to the concept and approved the issuance of building permits for 12 units with no additional building permits or COs to be issued. The board conditioned the release on the remaining building permits and COs subject to the applicant submitting a subdivision application along with a site plan amendment in accordance with the zoning ordinance and applicable regulations. The board further stated that the subdivision should include provisions for covenants in the deed that require the Abbott House to be maintained as a historic building, and a preservation easement should be considered. The building permits for 5 and 11 Callaway Drive were issued in June 2020, and the construction is nearing completion in the final phase. So from a recommendation from the staff perspective, staff recommends the following: authorize the issuance of 12 COs for 5 and 11 Galloway Drive as part of phase 5. Number 2 is prior to the authorization of phase 6 building permits, the applicant shall 1, complete phase 5, and 2, be granted a variance from section 2848F perimeter buffers in the zone of the zoning ordinance. Number 3, prior to the authorization of building permits for units 5 at 2 Cleveland Avenue, the proposed site plan amendment must be approved by the planning board. And as part of the motion, state that all conditions of the original approval, extensions, and amendments shall remain in full force and effect. So Heather, I just wanted to read that all into the record. I apologize, but I wanted to make sure we got it all on the record and it's in as it was written in the recommendations. Do you need a recommendation from us? There's nothing in my packet that tells me what we're looking for as far as a
Just need a motion to make that.
To make what I just read into the record, right? So, would someone like to make a motion to someone like to make a motion to authorize how do I want to word this? Someone like to make a motion to accept points 1, 2, 3, and 4 as I read into the record and as part of the recommendation from staff. Is that effective? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I think you just read the motion in.
Yeah.
Now you're looking for a
So
motion.
Would someone like to make a motion to accept that or to grant that? Is that granting?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll make a motion. If someone would like to second that motion or not.
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second, and again, it's a little unusual, but to authorize the issuance of the 12. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read it into the record again. So we've got a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor?
I thought someone was raising their hand. I didn't know if there was any discussion.
Oh, any discussion? Matt?
I just want to, thank staff for the work on this one. I think that the language that Rich read is really good. So thank you for thinking this thing through. I appreciate it.
Yep. Any other discussion?
You're on mute, Dave.
Uh-oh. There you go. Well, nope, You're back on. Gotta hold it. Hey, you're on.
Keeps going off.
You're on again. Okay.
I got my finger on the space bar. That's why.
There you go. Okay, so any other comments or questions? If
Who
not,
was the second
we've
on
got
that,
a motion.
please?
Byron seconded. I made the motion. Byron seconded. So again, by all those in favor by roll call vote.
Councilor Champlin?
Aye.
Chairman Woodfin?
Aye.
Member Fox?
Aye.
Member Hicks? Member Smithmeyer?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. So hopefully next time we see them back, we'll see them back with a fully vetted plan and a zoning variance and good communication with the board. So, okay, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is that right, Heather?
Correct.
Okay, so we have item 8 on our agenda. Any other business which may legally come before the board? Do we have anything else? Anybody else have any questions or comments or issues? If not, we will accept.
Mr. Chairman, how's the city of Concord doing in the Commute Smart? Maybe, Sam, are you participating in that?
I am.
Yeah. How's the city doing in the rankings? All right.
I haven't checked.
Oh, all right. I thought the Planning Commission, the Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission is doing quite well in this. So I don't know about the city.
What is it? Give us a little update, Matt. What is it?
So I think it's being run out of Seacoast now, but so there's the Commute Smart. I think they're calling it bicycles and brooms or something like that. And it's just, carpooling, walking, biking to work, things like that. And then people record how they get to work. And then there's data about how much fuel is saved and things like that. So it's a great way to think about commuting more intelligently to work.
Well, I know Sam is. I've seen him on his bike, so he's out there doing the good thing, right, Sam?
Of course.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if someone would like to make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Look at you now. Everybody's making the motions now. So we got a motion to
Second.
adjourn by David Fox, seconded by Suzanne Smith-Meyer. All those in favor by roll call.
Member
Aye.
Whitman?
Oh, sorry.
Aye. Aye.
Member Smith-Meyer?
Aye.
Counselor Champlin?
Aye.
Member Fox?
Aye.
And Member Hicks?
I'm walking home, so
I'm walking. There you go.
A little competition I sense here.
yeah, I'm going to promote walking and biking. It's all good.
Thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned, everybody. Thank you. Good to see everybody, at least remotely. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.